To introduce Parisa Khosravi. She's a strategic advisor and multi-award winning veteran, journalist, and news executive. She has first-hand experience dealing with world leaders, dignitaries, and high-ranking officials across the globe and opening doors to difficult and dangerous parts of the world where freedom of speech is no way is guaranteed.
Afterwards, we will be joined by Professor Wande Abimbola, Awishe Agbaye, and Ajishibo and Iroko. Professor Wande is the spokesperson for IFA in the world, founder of IFA Heritage Institute in Nigeria, former vice chancellor of Obafemi Awolowo University, and former special advisor to the President of Nigeria on cultural affairs and traditional matters, who is known worldwide for his knowledge in indigenous Yoruba religion and Ifa sacred literature. We will then end this next segment with a dance performance by Move the World. In 2012, the Los Angeles-based company Move the World Dance Activism was created to give youth a voice, inspiring authentic activism through the power of the performing arts. Please put your hands together for Parisa Khosravi.
Good evening, everyone. It's wonderful to come together at this interfaith gathering and celebrate our diversity. Our theme, as we have heard, is the promise of inclusion and the power of love. Tonight, I would like to share with you my perspective on these topics, and also how we'll never know what's inside someone until we give them a chance. A little background about me. I was born in Tehran, moved to Chicago with my family in 1979, just before the revolution in Iran. As we are an interfaith gathering here, I want to tell you a little bit about my faith. I am a Zoroastrian, which is an ancient religion. It is recognized as one of the first, if not the first, monotheistic religion in the world. Our prophet is Zoroaster, Zartosht. We have a holy book, Avesta. Our three principles are good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. Pendare nik, guftare nik, kirdare nik. I have tried to live my life by following these three simple yet all-encompassing values and principles of good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. Cyrus, the great Persian king who followed this faith, wrote the first human rights charter about 2,600 years ago. He called for freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and freedom of movement. This was over 2,500 years ago. Think about it. The Cyrus cylinder with these inscriptions of the first human rights charter presently sits at the British Museum. I have always enjoyed being a student of history. As a journalist and as a news executive, in my 28 years at CNN, I had the awesome responsibility of covering and watching history from the front row seat. I directed the coverage of countless historic events, from the fall of East Bloc to the genocide in Rwanda, the tsunamis in Southeast Asia and Japan, the earthquake in Haiti, the Arab Spring. I've had the opportunity to travel the world over and over again, meet popes and presidents and everyday people, seen so much of humanity's best and worst. It has been humbling, sobering, and full of life lessons. Life, as you know, is full of challenges and opportunities. Sometimes challenges turn into opportunities, and sometimes opportunities become challenges. I consider all of it gifts which helps one grow and evolve as a person. When life has tested me with the real big ones, the real heartbreaks, I try not to take it personally or become a victim to it. I don't say, why me? Because frankly, why not me? Why anyone? I don't say, why me? Instead, I think, wow, me. As hard as it may be, I try to look at it as a way to grow, become stronger, more compassionate and empathetic. It might not change the outcome, it probably won't, but certainly the attitude we have while we're going through a difficult time will change that experience for us and those around us. People are not born leaders, we become leaders by how we respond and handle ourselves in the valleys of life and during those difficult times, and how we choose to apply the lessons that life has taught us. I want to tell you about the person who has taught me the most, my ultimate teacher, my son, Payam. Whose name actually means message in Farsi, in Persian. He is my heavenly message. Payam is a teenager. He's on the autism spectrum, and he's non-speaking. A couple of years ago, at the age of 14, we finally had a communication breakthrough. Payam is now essentially spelling to communicate. He expresses his thoughts letter by pointing to an alphabet board. We shared our very personal story in a talk I gave in order to help others open hearts and minds and change perceptions about autism. The talk is called The Power of Finding Your Voice. I invite you to watch it and share it with those who you think it might benefit. For all those years, we had no sense of Payam's cognitive level and understanding. When we finally got a glimpse inside his thoughts, we realized he is wise beyond his years. Soon after he started to communicate, during one of his lessons, his teacher was reading to him about geysers. At the end of the lesson, she asked him to write about what makes him erupt. This is what Payam wrote at the age of 14. Centuries of discrimination have created geysers of hate and intolerance. These acts erupt and hurt the children of the world needlessly. Teaching acceptance is my life's work. This message of love and inclusion was written letter by letter on an alphabet board by a young man who, as he describes, his unruly body, mouth that disobeys, and his outward facade would challenge our perceptions and understandings of many with autism. Earlier this year, Payam was invited to give a presentation at an education conference. He titled his speech, Rethinking Autism and Therapeutic Approaches. He opened live in front of the audience by typing on a keyboard. The audience was mesmerized watching the overhead screen as words and sentences formed letter by letter as he typed his message. Our passion and calling sometimes evolves and even changes. Giving voice to the voiceless was always my passion and joy as a journalist. it has now taken a completely different meaning as I advocate for my son and his peers, or as he calls them, other silent champions, to ensure their voices are heard. My perspective has evolved throughout the years as an immigrant, as a journalist, and as a mother. I have seen both man-made and natural disasters turn lives upside down overnight. I didn't just cover revolutions. I lived through one personally and experienced my own life change dramatically after the '79 revolution. As a journalist, I have seen countries self-destruct as one group has dehumanized another group. I have seen fear show up as hate and intolerance, leading people to lose all perspectives. I worry about how civility is breaking down. Not much shocks us anymore. We watch the news and the latest tragedy and outrage with a hopeless and helpless attitude, and we numb ourselves with meaningless material goods and are concerned about acquiring even more, while so many on this earth, on this very day, don't even have the basic essentials, such as clean water or safety. The thing is, none of us knows what life has in store for us. What if we end up in a war zone, a natural disaster zone, be designated into a discriminated group, or become disabled? Would we want to be treated the same way so many of our fellow human beings are treated this very day under these same circumstances? Since we don't know what's down the road for any of us, shouldn't we, for no other reason but self-interest, at least be more responsive to the plight of others? Who knows, one day we may be the ones in need of a helping hand. The advancement of technology has democratized the media. The flow of information has been exponential. We have unprecedented access to knowledge, but are we more informed? I don't believe we are. We need to know the facts, reach across borders and barriers, marvel at our sameness, and find compassion and solutions for the less fortunate. Inclusion and compassion, values which this gathering is all about, and our world needs much more of these days. I want to wrap up by again quoting Payam, who shares his good thoughts by using his alphabet board to spell out his good words and advocate for good deeds. My dream is for the entire world to abolish the pain those experience from unnecessary judgments because of each person's unique differences. People need to recognize how their attitudes are negatively impacting our growth for humanity as a whole. A message from my non-speaking teenage son on the autism spectrum, who has been quietly observing everyone and everything all along, and is now finally able to share his message, his payam, with the world. Love and inclusion.